It's 11:18 p.m. You're sitting in your car, outside a safe apartment in Herzliya, engine off, phone in your hand, watching a live satellite feed on a secured tablet. You've been in surveillance for 3 years, running logistics, pushing reports up the chain, never the one on the ground. You tell yourself you're patient. Field assignments come to those who don't chase them. Your phone vibrates once. A priority channel. You answer without speaking. Package burned, your handler says. No greeting. Tehran asset compromised. Extraction failed. You don't ask what that means. You know. It means someone talked, someone was caught, someone broke. There's one more thread, he continues. A secondary contact. Unofficial. We didn't authorize him. He has access to the enrichment schedule. He's scared. He wants out. We don't have a face for him. And you're calling me because? You ask. Because you're Persian-born. Because your accent passes. Because your mother's family registry still shows you as a dual citizen. Because if we wait, he disappears, or he's executed. You stare at the satellite feed, a blank rooftop. What's the timeline? 48 hours. You fly in under commercial cover. No diplomatic net. If you're taken, you're a tourist. You think of your wife, asleep upstairs, of the file you just finished compiling, of the career track that would keep you safe behind screens. You think of the asset who was just burned. You say yes before the silence grows teeth. 12 hours later, you're in a briefing room. They show you grainy intercepts, fragments of encrypted messages routed through academic servers in Europe. The secondary contact calls himself Arash, claims he's mid-level in the Atomic Energy Organization, claims he can give exact dates for centrifuge transfers to a hardened facility south of Tehran. He wants asylum for his wife and son. He wants proof. You can protect them. You're not there to negotiate policy, your handler says. You're there to verify, assess, and if credible, move him to phase 2. You will not promise extraction until headquarters approves. And if he demands it on the spot, you improvise. That's the job description no one writes down. You land in Tehran with a backpack, a tourist visa, and a cover as a tech consultant visiting relatives. You move into an apartment, rented under a name that existed briefly 10 years ago. You test the dead drop on day 1, a hollow brick near a construction site. Inside, a memory card and a note written in cautious Farsi. 2 days. Azadi Square, noon. Blue folder. You don't go to Azadi Square at noon. You watch it from a cafe across the street. Rotating seats every 20 minutes, mapping cameras, counting plainclothes officers by their shoes and posture. At 12:07 p.m., a man in his late 30s sits on a bench with a blue folder. He doesn't open it. He doesn't look around too much. He looks like a bureaucrat on lunch break. That's what makes him dangerous. He's trained to blend. You wait until 12:19. A woman with a stroller stops near him. He hands her the folder. She walks away. Your pulse slows. He's testing whether you follow the obvious. You don't follow the woman. You follow him. He walks 3 blocks, enters a metro station, boards a train. You board 2 cars down. You watch reflections in the glass. He doesn't look back. He gets off at Talagani. You wait 1 stop, then double back above ground, calculating likely exits. You see him again near a bookstore. He's alone. You approach from the front, forcing eye contact. You drop something, you say in Farsi, handing him a blank receipt. His eyes flick to your face, measuring. I don't think so. You did, you insist softly. Your schedule. His jaw tightens. A micro expression. Fear. Then anger. I don't know you. You contacted us, you reply. You don't get to pretend now. He walks away. You fall in step beside him. Your family is in Karaj, you say quietly. Your son is 8. We know the school. He stops walking. If you threaten them, I'm telling you, we know what's at stake. He studies you, trying to decide if you're a trap. Proof, he says. I want proof. You can move them. 2. You bring something real, you counter. Not rumors. Something operational. Then we escalate. He hesitates, then nods once. 3 days. You separate without another word. Back in the apartment, you encrypt a burst transmission. Possible credible asset. Needs validation. You attach a description, a gate analysis, facial metrics from a concealed camera in your watch. You request satellite sweep of his office building. The reply comes at 3 a.m. Proceed. Do not overcommit. On the 3rd night, he leaves a new memory card in the brick. You retrieve it at dawn. Inside are internal memos with routing numbers that match partially redacted files files from your own archives, transfer schedules, dates, a code name for a facility not yet on any public list. You feel the shift. This is real. You request emergency review. Headquarters replies with unusual speed. Preliminary confirmation. High value. Initiate trust building. Extraction conditional. Conditional means politics is already involved. Extraction means consequences. You meet Arash in an underground parking garage beneath a medical clinic. He looks thinner. I gave you enough to hang myself, he says. You gave us enough to listen, you reply. It checks out. He exhales shakily. Then move my family. It doesn't work that fast. His eyes harden. Then I stop. You calculate options. If he stops, the program continues in shadow. If you promise too much, you lose leverage. If you push too hard, he panics and confesses to internal security to save himself. You'll get proof, you say. A sign that we can reach beyond this city, but you continue feeding data. He leans against a pillar. You think I do this for money? I think you do this because you've seen what they're building, you answer, and you don't want your son growing up under it. Silence stretches. He nods once. 1 week, you contact headquarters and push. You frame it as strategic necessity. You argue that without a tangible sign, he will collapse. After 12 hours, approval comes for a limited gesture. A small transfer to an offshore account in his wife's maiden name, routed through a European shell. Enough to show reach, not enough to trigger audits. You pass him the account number written in a code only he can decipher. His hands tremble when he reads it. They'll notice if we move too much. Then don't move it, you say. Just know it's there. For 3 months, you operate in that rhythm. Dead drops, short meets, data packets. Each transfer schedule he provides allows analysts back home to map infrastructure, to pressure allies, to prepare contingencies. You're a conduit between a man risking everything and a state calculating outcomes. Then internal security tightens. You notice it first in the cameras. New ones on corners that were blind before. A man you've seen twice in different districts. Always reading a newspaper upside down. Arash messages through the dead drop. They question my supervisor. Someone talked. You request exfiltration authorization. The reply is colder than before. Assets still producing. Monitor. Do not trigger premature extraction. Premature means politically inconvenient. You meet Arash in a crowded bazaar. Moving with the flow. We need to accelerate, you say. They've increased background checks, he whispers. They asked about foreign contacts. Did you break? No. You believe him, but belief doesn't stop interrogators. You make a decision without approval. You activate a secondary network, an Azerbaijani smuggler who owes your service a favor from years ago. He can move 2 adults and a child across the northern border within 72 hours. It's risky, unsanctioned, and if discovered, it exposes methods. You inform headquarters after you set it in motion. The response is fury. You were not authorized. He won't survive another month, you reply. And if he breaks under interrogation, every document he gave us is tainted. Silence on the line. Then proceed. You own the outcome. Ownership in your world means blame if it fails. You give Arash instructions. His wife and son will take a vacation to visit relatives near the Caspian. A car will meet them. He will not join them yet. He will continue to report for 2 more weeks to avoid suspicion. You're asking me to let them go alone, he says. I'm asking you to ensure they make it. He grips the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles whiten. If this is a trap, it isn't. But you know traps are built from certainties. The night they move, you don't sleep. You monitor coded pings through a layered communication chain. At 2:14 a.m., a signal confirms pickup. At 5:47 a.m., a second confirms crossing. At 9:03 a.m., a final message from headquarters. Family secure. You allow yourself 1 breath of relief. Then you message Arash. They're safe. He doesn't respond for 12 hours. When he does, it's 1 line. I'll give you everything. For the next 10 days, he empties his digital life into your hands. Access credentials, internal descent reports, names of engineers skeptical of weaponization. You transmit it all. Then he disappears. He doesn't show at the dead drop. He doesn't answer a contingency signal. You check hospitals through indirect contacts. Nothing. On the 3rd day, state television airs a brief announcement. A spy network uncovered within a scientific institution. No names. Your handler calls. We have chatter. Someone matching his profile detained. You close your eyes. Extraction? Impossible now. You think of his son, already relocated under a new identity. You think of Arash in a room without windows. 3 days later, you receive a message through an emergency channel only he knew. It's a single attachment, a final data set, and a note. They suspect. I delayed them. Don't come for me. You understand the subtext. If you attempt a rescue, you expose networks. If you stay, you condemn him. Headquarters orders you to leave within 24 hours. You've been in country too long. Risk profile escalating. You pack the apartment in 20 minutes, wiping surfaces, burning papers in a sink. At the airport, you stand in line with families and students. You don't look back. Back home, they debrief you for 36 hours straight. They praise the intelligence hall. They debate policy implications. They avoid mentioning his name. Months later, sanctions shift. Diplomatic channels tighten. Military planners adjust scenarios based partly on the data you transmitted. His information ripples outward, invisible to the world. You request a status update on him. The answer is always the same. No confirmation. You tell yourself he knew the risk. You tell yourself his family is safe because of you. Both statements are true. Neither absolves you. Years pass. You rise within the organization, from field operative to case officer. You train younger agents on how to assess credibility, how to build trust, how to weigh extraction timing. You tell them that assets are not heroes or traitors. They are humans under pressure. You don't tell them about the nights you wake imagining interrogation rooms. One evening, a secure message reaches your desk. A prisoner exchange in a third country. Among the names quietly transferred to a neutral state is one that matches Arash's, slightly altered. No photos, no details. You stare at the screen. You stare at the screen. It could be coincidence. It could be him. You request permission to verify. It's denied. Operationally irrelevant, the memo says. Focus on current priorities. Enesis. Current priorities. There is always another program, another potential Arash, another family bargaining for safety against a government's ambition. You sit alone in your office and think about the first night in the car outside Herzliya when you said yes because 48 hours felt urgent. You didn't know then that urgency never ends. It just changes targets. You understand now that being a Mossad agent on a covert mission in Tehran isn't about gadgets or disguises. It's about standing in the narrow space between a man's fear and a nation's strategy, deciding when to push, when to pull, and when to let go. It's about accepting that every choice creates consequences you may never see fully. Your phone vibrates again. A new potential source. Different sector. Same city. You answer without speaking. The voice on the line says, "We have another thread." You look at the secure map of Tehran on your screen, at the neighborhoods you once walked as a stranger and a native at the same time. You think about promises and conditions, about families moved in the night, about men who vanish so others can reposition pieces on a board. Send the file, you say. You know what comes next. Another cover identity, another assessment, another decision that will determine who lives freely and who pays the price. You don't pretend it's clean work. You don't pretend it's purely noble. You do it because the alternative is to let events unfold without influence, and you've seen what that costs. You close your eyes for a moment, then open them, already calculating timelines, vulnerabilities, leverage points. The mission never really ended. It only paused long enough for you to understand its weight. You are ready to carry it again, knowing exactly what it demands and what it takes.